Hey folks, welcome back to another Poemaster video. So, new month, well, almost new month. I guess new update, and new time for really weird and super early hot takes about the new units. Right, as we do every month. Yeah, we got a lot of new units this month. I mean, you know, obviously, like, on all like ends, right? We got like a new sync expansion for Solgaleo, right? For an existing sync pair, we got 6 new banners sync pairs, which is way above the average. Average usually 4, right? In a month total, and then we got the 1, 5, 6, 7. I don't even know how many like BP sync pairs. It's a lot of stuff to go through. Hopefully, it doesn't take me forever. But a lot of them are really good. I mean, we potentially have the number 1 and number 2 best offensive units in this whole game in Groudon and Kyogre, right? They're just insanely good. They're just, I don't know what else to say. Like, they can help teammates outside of, you know, themselves doing like a lot of damage. They can help their teammates do like red levels of damage. they could help like rando like whatever units do like insane levels of damage on top of, again, themselves doing like so much damage. Like these 2 units are just next level in terms of, again, offensive capabilities, right? Like, anyways, whatever. I'll talk about them more when we actually get to them. So I think there's like 15. Hopefully I didn't count wrong, didn't leave anyone out. So 1, 2, 3. That's the these 2, the lowland people, and the BP sync pairs of 2 legendaries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, yeah, that should be everyone, and also EX Plumeria. Because that's also a thing this month, right? If you guys forgot. So, anyways, so starting off, obviously these 2 are at the top. Like, they're, again, arguably the best offensive, you know, units in the game. Like, they're just incredibly good, right? These 2, incredibly good. Like, oh my god, the amount of people underrating these 2 are like insane. Like, I don't know like what else do you need from a unit? Sets up weather is, you know, straight up busted in this game. Sets up weather and can give you up to 50% unconditional damage boost, right? If you use the right team comps, unconditional, just 50% damage boost on either their special or physical moves, right? And at least 25 or not 25, at least 20%, and then a 25% damage reduction with either physical or special. Like this, these 2 units, like this master passive is honestly much better than Leon's. Even though Leon's is really good, obviously, right? Leon's still really nice, but like these are just like next level. The amount of like buffs this gives is just crazy, right? And then in team comps you could run these with, right? Obviously May, Cyrus, you know, things with blue, maybe something like a Zinnia, even. Like a lot of like really great things you could run with May. A lot of great things you could run with Groudon, right? Leon, Garchomp if you want, right? Like Brendan, Phoebe. Yeah, I don't know. these guys are crazy. And weather extension is incredibly broken as well. Like, just like there's nothing, like everything about like these 2 units are just broken. Like, just wow, right? Like, I mean, like they do massive damage, you know, by themselves, right? And then they give the teammates massive damage as well, right? Good damage reduction on top of weather. And then like they have like secondary moves that do like insane amounts of damage as well, right? Groudon Solar Beam does really good damage. Then you got Kyogre's Thunder, which, by the way, fun fact, Kyogre's Thunder, I think is the highest damaging electric move in the game. It's not even electric type. Kyogre's not even electric type. It does more than Zekron's Bolt Strike. This is insanity, absolute insanity. Yeah. Like, whoa, right? Like these 2 units are just absolutely next level, right? Absolute next level. In terms of like which one's better, I do think Kyogre's a bit better. Again, this is a list in terms of, you know, the units, which ones are better, not, you know, which ones you should go for, right? Because, you know, there's a good argument to go for Groudon over Kyogre, right, if you're summoning, but again, that's not what this video is about, right? But in general, Kyogre is probably better than Groudon, because, well, first of all, Kyogre's Thunder is just nuts, right? Oops, that's the wrong tab. Kyogre's Thunder is nuts. And Groudon's Solar Beam can be very nuts as well. Once we do get once we do get like a grassy terrain unit, even though it's still really good at the moment. But Kyogre's is just kind of on a, you know, different, yeah, level, right, overall. And then the other thing is Kyogre does have much better teams. The biggest downside of Groudon is, unfortunately, he has very high physical attack, and that came at the cost of him not having any fire type moves, which kind of sucks, right? Because like it would have been really great if they gave Groudon a fire type move. That would have been like just absolutely just insane, right? But they didn't give them fire type move, which is, again, slightly unfortunate. So you have to either run like ground or run like grass, right? Which is not nearly as good as if he had a fire type move. Which, again, if he did have fire type move, he'd probably debuff your, you know, your physical stat a bit, like what they did to Kyogre, right? But the thing is, even though they made Kyogre's special attack stat lower, just because it's a water type move, right, Kyogre still like does so much, you know, more damage than like Groudon, right? Which is insane. But again, like, doesn't mean Groudon's bad. Groudon's still very good, right? So these two are obviously, unquestionably, the 1 and 2 over here. Moving on, next we got Cobalion, honestly, right? Where's Cobalion? Cobalion is really good. And I think the difference between like Cobalion and Regirock is very large as well. Cobalion, the new free BP Sync pair, which is going to take a while to get because it is like the 10,000 point BP reward, right? So there's that. But Cobalion's a fantastic unit, right? You got so many great things going for it. First of all, you have Dire Hit All Plus, right? Which max out your crit, which is always something great to have. And the other thing is the training move is fantastic. Like, if it wasn't for the training move, honestly, you know, Cobalion would still be nice, because I mean, every Dire Hit All Plus unit is going to be nice, but it wouldn't be like as crazy. But the training move is really nice. So you get Move Gauge Acceleration, which is, you know, one of the strongest mechanics, right, you can have in the game. And you have Sharply Raises Defense on your whole. I mean, well, Sharply Raises Defense kind of whatever, but I mean, it's nice to have, but it's mainly for the Move Gauge Acceleration on top of Dire Hit All Plus, right? Like, that's just so good, right? On top of that, you also have Team Fast Track 4 to buff your team's speed if anyone needs like a ramming speed, inertia, top off, or whatever, or just for speed in general once your Move Gauge Acceleration, you know, goes away. Although there is like 2 MP for that, right? So there's still that. You got First Aid, Honor Roll. The other great thing about Cobalion is Honor Roll makes it so that Cobalion's Rock Smash is a 100% chance to debuff physical defenses. So like a lot of supports do have like a problem of not like doing anything after you're done buffing. Like, you're just sitting there, you're doing like chip to like no damage, you're just there to pass turns. Cobalion doesn't have that issue. Cobalion, after you're done buffing, you go Rock Smash the opponent, debuff their physical defenses, so your you know, your physical damage dealers could deal even more damage, right? And on top of that, you do have the Master Passive, Fighting Teamwork, which isn't like that great. I mean, it's only like 10% and then an extra 5% each, right? And then 10% damage reduction and an extra 2% each. This isn't like super crazy, but it's something, I guess. Plus it's Fighting type, which is much better than Rock types, because we don't have that many like Rock types. Rock type is like easily the worst typing. Oh well, not the worst typing. Second worst. Ghost type is still the worst. But you know, it's down there. Like, Rock type's down very bad right now. So you know, Rock type's just not as like great as Fighting type in terms of like team synergy and stuff, right? Units available, and on top of that, like, you have solid stats as well, solid defensive stats, all that stuff you want. Like, the speed's not fast, but it's not terrible either. Would have been nice if it had a bit more attack, but not the biggest deal in the world. Then you got like some other great stuff, Healthy Healing. Although I don't really feel like Cobalion's like grid is like necessary. You can max out your defenses as well if you want. Ripple Effect, for Rock Smash, which is also nice. But yeah, Cobalion's definitely very, very, very good. Although now that I think about it, you know what? I forgot to mention Kiawe. All right. Cobalt, although being very good, I do think Kiawe is slightly better. This was, you know, a bit of a debate that we had. I forgot to shout out the folks who did this, right? So shout out to Runner, Ropal, Joe, and Donson, and Blade for actually helping out this. So, Merak is so good, man. Merak is fantastic, you know, like a lot of really, really great things about it. First of all, the buffs are really nice, right? +1, +1, +1. Like you look at it and say, oh, well, it's only +1. But when you like look at it like realistically in terms of like team comps and what you're actually trying to support, right? Most of them, like you don't, like no one really needs +6 offensive buffs. Yeah, that's on like some like tech units and like maybe Lance, right? In this case, you know, you don't really need that. It's just here to top them off, right? On top of having some other great things, obviously Potion with Master Healer. You also have Shadow Bone with Honor Roll 4, which is also a guaranteed defense drop as well, right? You are a bit slower, but really nice defenses, obviously. Flame Charge is nice. Dashing Team 5 is fantastic, right? Then you have Quick Tempo, where you give move gauge acceleration on entry as well. I think it is pretty similar to Cobalion, but the reason why I do think almost like Cubone, Little Merak over Cobalion is, you know, Cobalion unfortunately doesn't buff any offensive stats, which is slightly unfortunate because again, these two are pretty similar. They both 100%, you know, debuff defense. They all both give move gauge acceleration. They both buff speed. They both can max out your crits. But Merak does also give you offensive buffs, which is, you know, really, really nice to have, right? So yeah, Alola Merak, very, very good as well. Moving on next, probably another support, right? Like these supports are really, really good, right? Merak's fantastic support, Cobalion's fantastic support, and then Raichu is also fantastic as well. Yeah, Raichu might be want to pick up the first, but yeah, this thing is fantastic. Another max crit support unit that also gives you +1 defense every time you use it. And then you have X attack also. This is basically like a mini Hilbert, which is, you know, Hilbert is probably better. However, you know, being slightly worse than Hilbert is not bad. It's not bad at all, right? You have Post Haste, which is okay. And then you have Thunder Wave, so 100% paralysis on top of, you know, all the things, which, you know, if you don't have a 3 out of 5 Hilbert, you could definitely run like Raichu with Zekrom or something, which also gives you type skills. And then also, you know, gives you paralysis as well if your Luxray, you know, is having a bad day RNG wise. As some other stuff, you have Fast Track for Thunder Punch, which is nice. You have Team Fast Track 4, which is great, right? And yeah, First Aid, Quick Cure, right? Stalwart and Bending, MP Refresh for X attack also, you can max out attack, right? So yeah, Raichu is also fantastic as a unit as well. Moving on, so it's a bit of like a, you know, it's a bit of a categorization, right? So like these two are obviously in their own tier, and then these three, you know, you could kind of gauge, right? It's pretty close between which one's better than the other. But yeah, they're basically in the same group. But then after the first drop off, and there's like a second drop off, and then like after Raichu, there's like a pretty big drop off in terms of, you know, what's next. And next one probably is Incineroar. Here's the issues with Incineroar. Everyone saw like, oh, this thing has so many multipliers, which it does. It is true. It has a lot of multipliers. However, unfortunately, it doesn't matter how many multipliers he has, his damage is like bad, right? His damage is not very, very good. Well, I wouldn't say it's bad, it's just not great, right? He does like around, I think, like Rotom levels, like Rotom, like with Thunder levels of damage, which is not very great for a supposed, you know, damage dealer, right? So yeah, and the other issue is with like Incineroar's grid, right? It's like, oh, what are you gonna run? Because you definitely want to run Pecking Order because he has a fantastic Sync Nuke, right? Even though his DPS is pretty bad, his Sync Nuke is fantastic. So you want to pick up the Sync Nuke, and since it's over here, probably want to pick that up as well. And you maybe Insult to Injury, and you definitely want to pick up Ramming Speed because Ramming Speed is the best one out of all 4, right? So you can't pick up Bob and Weave. And if you do this grid, the issue is you don't have Move Gauge Refresh 4, which on a unit with 151 base speed, right? You know, that's pretty bad. This is level 130 stats though, but like, yeah, you kind of want to pick up the Move Gauge Refresh, so you kind of want to drop the extra multiplier. And if you're only picking up 2 multipliers, like this thing does no like DPS. Like this thing's DPS is like horrible, right? Again, doesn't matter how many multipliers you have. There are multiple components to the final damage output, right? I mean, Dragonite has 0 multipliers. That guy hits like a truck, right? This guy has a lot of multipliers. Doesn't really do too much damage, unfortunately. If you're wondering why, it's probably mostly because of Darkest Lariat is just a bad move, right? The base power is low. It has this is basically useless. And then because they think it's like a positive thing, so like they compensate it for like lowering, you know, the base power, so it's not a very high base power move. So overall his damage is just not great, but again, or DPS is not great. He does have a very good Sync Nuke, which is nice, and he does give your whole team, you know, max speed buffs, which is fantastic, right? Fantastic. And then on top of that, you could also get, you know, defense debuffs, which are nice, 66% of the time. Not that, it's Disarm 9. But yeah, it's he's okay. I just wanted to caution people, you know. I do think he's still a, you know, a good unit. It's just that people were hyping up his DPS without even looking at the numbers, and then numbers just show this guy's DPS is not very good. Moving on. Next, I'd say probably Hala. And if you're wondering what the heck, what Hala, what really? Here's the thing with Hala, right? Obviously, the speed thing, a bit of a meme, because it's terrible. It's terrible, right? The speed thing is terrible. Like, you have no speed, you have a 4-gauge move, and then that 4-gauge move debuffs your speed every time. Here's the one thing we don't know about Hala is we don't know his multiplier for slow wind up. We don't know if it's 10%. We don't know if it's -6 for 10%. We don't know if it's -1 for 10% or minus any for 10%. We don't know if it's -6 for 30%. We don't know if it's -6 for 60%. So we don't exactly know what the multiplier is, but even taking just like 10%, like this guy still does really good damage. Well, it's not anything crazy, but you know, it's still solid damage on Ice Hammer. I mean, being, you know, still a 4-gauge move and all, 232 base power, right? So yeah, it is what it is, right? It's still really solid. And then the other thing is, if you know, EX Hala's Sync Nuke it's a solid sync nuke, right? EX Hala, you just, you know, haymaker, and then boom, you're doing a lot of damage. Again, I don't like his kit at all, but I can't say he's like terrible because he's not. But like, damn, this guy is weird. But yeah, probably Crabominable after that. So and then next is probably Salamance, right? Here's the thing about Salamance. Salamance, and the reason, next is Umbreon. The reason why we had Salamance over Umbreon is Salamance does do like, it does, in terms of max damage, does much more damage than Umbreon. However, Salamance is slightly harder to set up in comparison to Umbreon, right? Salamance, you do have to, you know, you get Power Posture, obviously not easy to set up. CS2 is easy, but Harry 3 also not easy to get, even though you do have aggravation on your on Dragon Rush, right? It's still not like super easy, right, to accomplish. And Flinch is also slightly awkward at times, right? Just Flinch is just not like insane, right? But he does do very good damage, especially if you run Salamance with with Groudon, right? You get the extra Hoenn boost from Groudon. Like, this thing's damage is really, really good. Really good damage on Dragon Rush. Status Shield's kind of whatever. I mean, it's fine, I guess. But yeah, Dragon Rush could do really solid damage. Your Trend move is fine, I guess. Not anything crazy. And then you also have a solid Sync Nuke as well. 2 times multiplier of the opponent's flinching. Well, it's just attack. It's not like anything great. I mean, I guess you have double down here. You have Catastrophe, but they're and Crit Strike too, which also applies your Sync move. It's not bad, but you know, the other thing about Salamance is you could run Salamance with like Champion Iris, right? They help each other out very, very well, I'd say. So that's really nice. Like, there's a lot of things that you could run Salamance with that you could get some solid results out of, right? So yeah, Salamance is definitely nice. Again, this isn't a you know, which BP unit should you pick video, because I mean, most people do already have like enough, you know, solid Dragon type damage dealers, right? So again, this is just in terms of not in terms of which unit's more useful, which units should you pick, what units better for free play. It's just which units are better on their own right? So yeah, I mean, if you're lacking a dark type damage healer, don't pick Salamence because you know, Salamence is the better overall unit. If you need, you know, dark type damage dealer, go for Karen, obviously, right? So moving on, Umbreon's next. Umbreon has some solid damage. I do kind of I love Umbreon. Like, I do kind of see people saying like, oh, Umbreon's like a better, you know, Fall Hilbert, Halloween Hilbert. As much as I love this Umbreon's kid, that is not, no, no way. It seems like people don't understand what makes Halloween Hilbert good. The biggest thing on Halloween Hilbert is Spearon. Spearon is like fantastic passive, right? Which obviously, you know, Umbreon doesn't have. But Umbreon doesn't need it to be very good, and also you don't need it to be, you know, better than Halloween Hilbert, which is, you know, top tier striker, to be really, really good, right? It's good on its own right. The double edge with enough stand fast notes so you don't take that much recoil, right? On top of having just Crit Strike 2, you have Catastrophe there if you want as well. There's Super Duper Effective 2, double down. Like, it's a very simple kit, right? In comparison to Salamence, Umbreon is so much easier to set up, right? So much easier to set up. But again, it just doesn't do like as much damage. But again, it's fine. It's fine. You don't have to do like insane amounts of damage, right? I think, let me see. I think Umbreon does like similar. Oh no, Umbreon does so much more damage than like Incineroar, right? Yeah, Umbreon's fine. Umbreon's fine. Yeah, Umbreon's good. Anyways, moving on. Let's see. What do we have next down here? It's probably gonna be Salsa. Salsa did get an EX, which is really nice because Salsa does have a really solid Sync Nuke. With inertia, right? I don't know, nothing much to say. It's an old unit, people know what Salsa does. Terrible DPS, but a good Sync Nuke with some, you know, fun tech stuff that you can run, and very, very fast speed. A rare, incredibly rare Alolan unit that has good speed, right? It's just like Sazal, Kukui, Luzamine, and then everyone else is like, you know, slow as a turtle, right? But yeah, good Sync Nuke, and now you turn it into AoE with EX. So that's definitely nice, right? Moving on, probably Solgaleo. Solgaleo is definitely the most shafted out of all the legendary, you know, event units so far. But it's still fine on its own right. I mean, it's still a solid steel type damage dealer. It's just not anything amazing. You should be able to clear any steel type event with no problem with Solgaleo, right? It's just that it's nothing crazy, right? I mean, like this guy's grid is not very good. And the amount of like, it's just like not worth it, honestly. It seems like a lot of the stuff that it's like the grid does, like stuff like brain teaser. I mean, can you pick it up to massively increase your well, not massively, give you an extra 30% on your Sunsteel Strikes. Yeah, you could do that. You could run like another Dawnberry, but like, is that really worth it? Like, maybe, because it really doesn't have anything else. But on the other hand, it's like, brain teaser, right? But yeah, obviously, Focus Blast is the stronger move on Solgaleo, but on the other hand, it's like, people have enough, good fighting type units. Steel type seems, more intriguing, right? And his Steel type damage is not great, right? Yeah, he's still fine. Just because he's, solid at base, but just didn't get anything too crazy, unfortunately. Next, I don't know. None of these are anything crazy. I'd say probably Regirock. Regirock is nowhere as good as Cobalion. Regirock is weird. Regirock is an attack / potion unit, right? It's a good potion unit, right? It gives you HP, gives gradual heals, sharply raised defense. It's a really great defensive support. It's just that defensive supports aren't really it right now. Very defensive supports are very good in Legendary Arena, but they're not too great in Master Mode, because you generally don't want to make the battle in Master Mode last too long. The longer it lasts, obviously the more dangerous it is to you. When talking about some of the more easier parameters, right, that you can pick up, but he's still fine, right? Again, X attack all is nice. His passives are, I guess, Impervious is good. Everything else, Endurance is fine. Like, last word is, what are we doing? He does have like good attack, I guess. Rock Tomb. Also, Double Edge should be Rock Throw, because he's just like Rock Throw grid. We'll have to see what comes of this Rock Throw Double Edge thing. I think they're fixing it, right? So, I don't know. First aid here, nothing is like super interesting. You got Master Healer on your trainer move. Yeah, he's just, I don't know. There's just so many better potion units in this day and age, right? The bar for like a good potion unit is just raised so much now, and on top of that, it's only get attack buffs, which is nice. But there's, again, on the other hand, there's so many better attack buffing units, right? Like Hilbert, max out your attack, max out your crit as well, give your speed. Right, then you have Raichu, the BP Raichu, and it's like, okay, you give them attack. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of like in the middle there. And it's just kind of stuck, unfortunately. Oh, also the master passive is just not as good as fighting Rock, right? In comparison. Yeah. Oh well. I really like Reggie. I like the Reggies a lot. So it's important. I actually don't really care that much about Cobalion, but I really like the Reggies. So that's kind of sad. Anyways, next. I don't know. All three of these are kind of eh. I see a lot of people hyping up. You know what? A lot of people have been hyping up Mismagius. I'm not buying it. I think Mismagius is very mid. Yeah. Yeah. The thing about Mismagius is it doesn't do anything. Like 90% of like the game is just there, right? It's trying to spam Astonish to flinch the opponent. Astonish, okay, here's the thing. Mismagius should be very, very good in Legendary Arena, because flinch is very good in the Legendary Arena, and then on top of that you get, flinch and then confuse. Again, very, very good for Legendary Arena. Flinch is not that great for Master Mode, right? Flinch is not that great for Master Mode, because it does ruin your rhythm quite a bit, especially if you accidentally flinch the mid, right? Because sometimes they flinch the mids, the sides start like either using very strong attacks, or they start using like AoE attacks, which do catch people off guard a bit. So like generally you don't want to do that. and think about, you know, why flinch is so much better in legendary arenas. Like most legendary arenas, right? Just the ones that where you fight one Pokemon. Once you flinch them, they're done. They're completely immobilized. They can't use any moves. They can't do anything. They're just there until they recover. And if you flinch them again, like you could just, a lot of times, right, if you're lucky, you could perma flinch a unit and like they do nothing to you. The thing about Master Mode is if you flinch someone else is gonna attack you, right? Unless you chain flinch, which then you'll need multiple flinching units, and you'll also need the parameter to make sure you don't miss any flinches. You have to have 100% flinch. You have to do it perfectly, which is not super easy, right? It's not super hard either, but it's it's just a flinching unit that heals you and gives you like defense buffs. Yeah, like it's just like, why would you ever use Morty over like Swanna? Right? Why would you ever use it over Swanna? Swanna, first of all, has better NPRs on potion, gives you speed buffs, which is absolutely critical, right? In comparison to like, you know, some defense buffs. And then Swanna also has a 6R EX, which is great, right? Swanna could also buff your attack. I just don't really see the point using Swanna over Mismagius. Which I don't really. Yeah, maybe I'll have Tangela above Mismagius. Maybe I'll have Mismagius. Like, both these aren't like crazy. Tangela, I'm deciding between like Tangela and Raichu for my first one, just because I really like Erica. But like, Tangela is not bad. There are some good things about Tangela. I mean, you got Poke Trap 3 on the Infestation Trap, Toxic, right? It's Toxic Stall unit, right? It's basically Lucy's the Viper, but much better, right? Because first of all, you have Poke Trap, you have Move Gate refreshes, all that stuff, right? And also you do have like a bit of a Sync Nuke, I guess, in here, since you're a tech unit, right? Like all of them do. And then you have Propelling Move 5, which is really nice. You can also run it Sun if you want. All right, so you have the Tech and 8 Sync Nuke, Crit Strike 2 if you want. You could do some damage in 6. It's not going to be anything crazy, right? The double down, Crit Strike, Sync Nuke. Again, not anything crazy, but it's like something. First Aid. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, it's a free 1.5k Master Mode stage, but then again, that's not really saying much, because like most units could, like 99% of this game probably could beat a 1.5k Master Mode stage. It's just very, you know, Tangela Survivors are very brain dead. You just don't have to do anything. They just sit there and then wait for the battle to be over. Maybe I could move, like, again, I don't really know between these two, because all of these three are not very great. Like, maybe Arachnid's better than them. Maybe I'll put Arachnid higher than them, because, like, man, have I ever disliked a kit? This thing is, ugh. Like, literally, I titled my Arachnid, like, my Lana, and I love Lana, right? And it's like, I literally titled the video, she does things, which is kind of like she doesn't really do things. Okay, that's a slight exaggeration off. She does do things, like, you know. All right, you have like +4 attack and defense. Okay. There's, again, so many better, you know, physical attack buffers in this game. And then you have like Wide Guard, which is situationally, first of all, it's the usage is situational, and in the cases where it is used, right, you only use it for like 1% of the battle, right? Slight exaggeration, but like the last, you only use it for like the last 2 turns. Yeah, it's just in, you know, Master Mode. Sometimes when you clear the mid too fast, and then the side starts spamming. Oh yeah, okay, you go Wide Guard there. After that, 1 gauge water gun spam is nice, but like, oh my god, what are we doing? 124 speed. You do have good defenses though, which is nice. Leech Life. I mean, are you really using a 3 gauge move on a support support with 124 speed. It's either that or you spam Water Gun, which does nothing, right? I mean, you're just wasting turns doing nothing. Just for the sake of sync with countdown. Then you have Propelling Strike 9, which helps with gauges. Especially at 124 speed. Yeah. And then it's super weird. Like, you have like a bunch of like offensive buffing nodes, which is fine. I mean, you have a, I wouldn't say this is okay. For support, this is not the worst attack stat, right? Not very good though. But like, oh, the block passives are so bad too. Because again, Wide Guard, you usually use it like at the very, very end of the battle. And it's like, you don't really need these anymore. I don't know. Yeah. Might put Arachnid lore. It's just that these two, both these two have much better kits than Arachnid. But like, Arachnid does buff attack. I don't know. They're all not great. They're useful. They're very, very useful. Well, maybe not. I don't say Arachnid's useful, but you know, at least these two are like useful, but they're not great, right? So, anyways, that's me with this one, I guess. Hope you guys enjoy. Let me guys think in the comments down below. Like me with videos or channel for some more content. I'll see you guys in the next one then.